Alright, Eric, here we are working on Marshall Tucker Band. First and foremost, these are all chords you know. D, C, and G. We talked about during D how we're going to play thumb defense, how it's all good if you just, theoretically we're supposed to just hit 4 strings when we play D, but if we hit the 5th string, it still sounds alright, because that's one of the notes in the chord. These are both A, even if that doesn't jump right out. It's an octave up. So yeah, it sounds alright if you put that one in. Anyway, so really this is going to be about getting used to that range of motion and really banging it out faster than you did when I first gave it to you in your first lesson. So here's my suggested starting tempo. Maybe a little slower actually. And you're going to do your open strum on the very last, strum of each chord, which does happen to be up in both of these songs. So pick one chord and play a bunch of that rhythm. It's probably been a while since you just rhythm tuned, and just go for one crisp, I hit all the strings with the same velocity movement. Listen for it sounding too bottom heavy, which means you're not swinging wide enough, or too top heavy, which means you're missing the low strings. The short version is just hit all the strings. And that's including the click when we're playing D and C. Cool. And that's our thumb over top position. Just be sure you don't go back to this or something. Whereas in Hey Joe in a minute we're going to be using classical thumb position. Those are the two that there are. There aren't really any other ones. Aside from literally playing a thumb based on like Hendrix or whatever. If we haven't discussed this, Hendrix did not play an upside down guitar. He just played a righty guitar strung normally on the left side. So he was doing the same shit we are, just his tuning pegs were down there. He took a lefty guitar and strung them backwards, which doesn't mean that his low string was up here. It just means that his tuning pegs were down there. So Hendrix playing the same shit we are, if we didn't already get to that. So now you know that. It's true. Watch a video of him playing Hey Joe. He's totally playing the chords, I'm not saying you think otherwise. It's just interesting to check out. And it was their first single, so there's a lot of footage of that. But we're on the Marshall Tucker song, and I'm going to zoom in on the D at the end. It's like D, C, G, and then we've got this. Rather, and so we do a normal. Then we get, and that's us. I'm sorry, I'm getting this crossed with a different song, but either way. Oh, I see it. Praying for it. Cool. So there we are. Marshall Tucker Band song. So around 3:40, we're switching to Hey Joe. I want to right off the bat say don't look at the page. The rhythm to this is not something that's going to trip you out. It's just down, 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 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you've heard it a bunch of times. Here's 2 of them. So as soon as you have the sequence in your head, stop looking at the page. There's no points for counting, there's points off. So C, G, and there's section 1. I'd love you to get good at that and get some actual feel into it. Right around 4:20, I'm going to do the actual thing at the end where we go E, making the whole thing. Now we're simplifying it a little bit. In reality, he varies it some, but that's the basic rhythm behind the whole thing. Cool. So there's that section, right at 5 minutes. we're getting to our section. But before we do that, this is like a extra credit, or you could do a first in theory, because it's a totally different part of your skill set, playing single notes here. So you're going to want to be in classical thumb position. So let's go first fret, boink, 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 boink. And in the first one, you won't need your pinky. It's just a reminder not to go or anything like that. So I'm pushing down 0, 1, 2, 3 fingers. Cool. So that was. Then you're going to move 1 fret forward, including your thumb, and go. Same stuff on this string. And then you're going to hop 2 frets forward, including your thumb. This is going to be really tempting to do this, so allow for a pause there. We're just trying to get through it once like that. But if you wanted to play it along, there's like a pause there. You could load it up, so to speak, So. But cool, so there we are. We've got classical thumb position for I need to reach all my fingers, and we want 9. And if you find yourself doing that on the last one, it's probably because you trailed your thumb, not to beat a dead horse. There you go, man. That's some good stuff. So with D sus4, we're really just thinking of that as that thing we do with our pinky during D versus learning it as a new chord like we would D7 or D minor or whatever, because it's very rare that you'd see just that chord without at some point resolving to D like that. But what the sus4 has to do with, just poking at this, are the notes in the major scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. And this is the D major scale, just take my word for it. And the 1, 2, 3, 4th note is G. And this note's G, so it's like we're putting in a 4th. Just that's what it means. But while we're at it, you're just thinking pinky on, pinky off. And like I was saying, that's also free falling. And the thing at the end of GNR lies like that. So feel free to mess around with that. But I think we picked some really good songs for you this week. I do not mean that also be working on every other song that we've done. As these start to add up, it'll be tempting to play a little bit of all of them, but definitely put aside the stuff from your first lesson at this point and pick, if you want to play through last week's stuff a little bit, that's cool, but make your main focus these songs, and then you should still be able to go back to what we did between this lesson and last A minor, etc. song, and you'll still remember it. So let's put that aside for a minute, practice this week's stuff, and then go back and be sure you remember it. And the stuff from your very first lesson, aside from note memorization, stuff like that, I think we're probably good to go. Alright, man, keep cruising along. You are the man. Enjoy.